Hey everyone, you're with Tom from Ludicrous feed. I'm joined today by Riz from Carloop. Hello Riz, how are you?
Hey Tom, I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks. I'm very excited to bring our guest today, our very first episode of this quick news format we're going to bring to you uh, with regards to Tesla and electric vehicle news from Australia and around the world. We'll try and do this quite regularly. So this is our first episode. I'm excited, Riz.
Yeah, likewise. I think it's an exciting time closing the year off with a lot of the EV news in Australia, and yeah, things are growing quite quickly.
Indeed, they are. So today is Wednesday, the 23rd of November, 2022. So make sure you leave your comments below as well and tell us how we went in our first episode. All right, let's put on the screen now. So, see, we've got some news about Tesla inventory here in Australia.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen any cars in Tesla's inventory, and it looks like in Western Australia they've got three Model 3s that anyone can pick up. I guess at the moment it's sort of restricted to West Australian residents. But yeah, it's good to see inventory coming back in for anyone that's interested in getting a brand new Model 3 without having to wait.
As you said, Riz, we haven't actually seen any inventory stock for a while. I mean, I guess for me, there are several thoughts that go through my head. Is it because, the demand is dropping off, or is it interest rates? What do you think?
Yeah, I guess Tom, it's probably quite a few of those things, and mainly it's around, I guess, the shipments have come in. West Australia now, from what I understand, get their own shipments, so they no longer have to rely on cars getting to the East Coast. Um, and on the back of that, I guess Tesla, the way they operate, it's sort of they build once an order has been placed. So these have, obviously the people that ordered them for whatever reason have either purchased a Model Y instead while they were waiting, or um, could be due to, the state of people's finances, and interest rates going up as well. That also puts financial pressure on people looking at getting these cars, and they may have considered an alternative instead of the Model 3 that they had ordered. So a lot of these cars are still were originally ordered back in January, February of this year. And at that time, from memory, I think Tesla was only taking $150 for every order. So a lot of these people have lost this $150 as such. And now they've sort of become available for anyone to sort of purchase, obviously having to be based in Western Australia at the moment.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, circumstances do change. I mean, that's a very long time between earlier this year and now. We're talking like 6 months, 7 months for some cases. So, the world has changed. It's a very different place to what it was back in March 2022 to November 2022 now. So, I guess if you are looking to snap up a Tesla and you don't want to wait, well, there might be some waiting in the inventory there for you around the various states in Australia. It's good to know. Let's move on to the next article now that we're going to discuss, and the news that Tesla Radi have put up here, which says Australia considers expanding EV incentives, cutting incentives for PHEVs. Those who don't know, that was placed on the table for Australia's federal parliament. It's been going through the Senate. Passing this bill that Australia's electric vehicle discount, which will basically include incentives to reduce or cut the fringe benefits tax for those who, trying to get a novated lease through their employer. The sticking point getting it through Parliament was whether plug-in hybrids would be part of the picture. And I believe that in the last 24 hours to 48 hours, that I think that we're getting close to finalisation of that bill, because I think there's been a deal reached where there is a sunset clause for PHEVs.
Hmm. Yeah, it's quite interesting to see it finally happening, and the inclusion of plug-in hybrid vehicles in Australia. I mean, the plug-in hybrid fleet is quite small as it is, unlike some of the European markets. So I don't believe there'll be too many sales off the back of that up until 2025. I think most people know the benefits of pure battery electric vehicles, and people will probably end up waiting for something that sort of fits their budget. That's a pure electric vehicle, rather than having the maintenance cost of a plug-in vehicle as well as everything else. So yeah, it's still good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's controversial. We've discussed this many times on our live streams and just with members of the community, whether to include plug-in hybrids as part of the picture of EVs. I mean, I would say just hearing what's happening on the ground, I would say the majority of EV owners don't believe plug-in hybrids should be classed as EVs, just because if you look at the range of a plug-in hybrid, the majority of the range is actually from petrol rather than from the electric part of the part of the car. I don't know, Riz. What do you think? Do you think plug-in hybrids should be classed as EVs?
I guess if it does have them as plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, then they could be, but we know from, international case studies and some of the stuff that you read that a lot of people don't use them the way they're supposed to be. So they rely too much on the engine itself and don't really often charge the batteries. So eventually, the plug-in hybrid system ends up using way more fuel than it needs to, so the emissions are a lot higher than what's originally claimed by the manufacturer because they're not being used correctly. So yeah, I agree that as battery electric vehicle owners and anyone that's looking at buying one, um, it's probably better to go straight electric than having to have a car for 5 to 7 years. That's you also have to charge as well as fill up. And I don't know many people that want to go to petrol stations to fill their cars up as well. That's also an electric car.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I've reviewed a few cars, and some of them actually asked me to review their hybrids as well, their plug-in hybrids, to help owners transition over to electric. And I've been a bit hesitant to do that because, as you said, Riz, it's you kind of have to go all the way. You're not actually using a plug-in hybrid, as an electric car, really. Most of the people just rely on that petrol side of things. Um, I mean, if you're doing short trips, you can actually turn on the EV modes. I've done that a few times with the tests I've done, but as you said, Riz, I think you need to just fully go in and invest and go electric. And once you do, you never go back. And also I
Yeah.
should to note that that hybrids actually have the higher risk of battery fires too compared to pure electrics. Having spoken to members in the industry from that area, so that's important to
Mm.
know.
Yeah, I think it's either go one way or the other. Um, I still feel though that even if this does go through, the the manufacturer's abilities to bring plug-in hybrids into Australia, given the European demand is still relatively high and our market is quite small, um, would mean that we'll naturally see more electric cars and plug-ins will just, it will just be included in the bill, but the uptake, as we've already had, has been quite low. That will sort of remain into the future because the manufacturers won't bring many in.
Yeah, look, I think it's a good compromise from the federal government if this does get passed eventually, which is a sunset clause for PHEVs by 2025. I think that's a reasonable compromise, and that's only 2 years away, so we'll see what happens. All right, let's move on to the next article from CNEV Post. Tesla reportedly to cut prices further in China after previous moves failed to get enough orders. That's really quite interesting. So that is really pointing to a possible demand drop. I mean, failed to get enough orders through, requiring Tesla to cut prices in China.
Hmm. It's that's interesting. I recently did cover the fact that they cut them a couple of weeks ago, just to spruik up demand, and then there were stories of Tesla China page crashing because there was that much demand, and then now there is more rumors sort of bubbling up around more prices to be cut. I mean, from what I can gather, the economic conditions in China at the moment are not at their peak, and hence people are slightly worried. And then these rumors do nothing more than make people wait to purchase the next EV. So yeah, it would be interesting to see uh, what comes off this, whether this means that there'll be more price cuts coming. I also believe there's an update that Tesla at the moment is rejecting those price cuts, saying that they're not really happening yet, and those reports are false. But you never know. Last time they came true, so it'll be interesting to see.
That's right. It's hard to tell. I mean, in Australia, there are so many Teslas on the road now, especially in the capital cities in Sydney, where I live. There's plenty of Model Ys on the road. I mean, that's reflecting, I guess, demand from maybe 6 months ago. And look, we obviously have to look at China and the US to see what will happen here, because generally we tend to follow what happens overseas. We haven't seen any price drops yet in Australia. The prices have held. But yeah, it will certainly be very interesting to see.
Hmm.
All right, speaking of cars from China, this is a really interesting article here. So let me scroll up to the beginning here. CNV Post also says spy photo. BYD may be testing pickup truck model. Rumors have previously suggested that BYD is now a new personalized brand to be launched in 2023 will target the pickup truck market. So let's scroll down here to this covert looking Ute from BYD, supposedly.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see. I mean, the pace of model development or new models coming to market from BYD is quite interesting. They just seem to announce a car like they did with the BYD Seal back in July, August, and they're already shipping them all across China and soon in international markets as well. So, that's the pace that we're talking about. So if this is rumored to be a BYD pickup truck or a Ute, I wouldn't be surprised if the production sort of starts by March, April next year. And if it happens to be in a popular Ute market, we may possibly see a whole lot of them before the end of next year. So it'd be interesting to sort of keep a tabs on this one.
Yeah, absolutely, Riz. Look, you and I know we went to the LDV launch recently to look at their new Ute. LDV is from SAIC, which is also a Chinese company. And yeah, I guess the biggest feedback I got from my video on that launch was that the price is just too high. $92,000 for a rear-wheel drive Ute. That's 330 kilometers of range with a towing of 1 ton and payload of 1 ton. So I'll be interested to see what BYD price this vehicle as, if the rumors are true, and if they do come to Australia. If they can match that 92 or even lower, I think they'll be very competitive.
Yeah, I think that should be the case. I'm sure they would have seen what Radar has done, a Geely
Mm.
or Volvo Polestar brand around, a pure electric ute. I think my only slight concern is, firstly, if it is a BYD, that's cool. But second, my main concern is if it's from BYD, whether it would include their plug-in hybrid technology or whether it would be pure electric. I really
Mm.
hope it's the latter,
Yeah.
um, because then we are more likely to get it in Australia than if it was one of their new energy vehicles, spec cars, or in this case, utes that are your plug-in hybrid technology.
Yeah, look, I guess our local distributor here in Australia, which is EV Direct come BYD Automotive, having spoken to Luke Todd, the CEO, he's expressed a desire to, basically bring in full electric vehicles, full battery electric vehicles from BYD in China. So I'm hoping if the Ute does come, it's the full electric one. Like we certainly need more Utes, as you know, Riz. I think it's 20% of the light passenger vehicle market in Australia, so it's a very lucrative market.
Yeah, and I was doing some numbers following the LDV electric ute launch, and get this, last year the top two best-selling cars were the Ford Ranger and the Toyota Hilux. Combined, they sold over 103,000 cars or light passenger cars. That as a proportion of the market is nearly 10%.
Amazing.
So
Yep.
that's yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there's just so much room to move, and yeah, hopefully we can see more from Radar, from BYD, from LDV, all these offerings from China. Indeed. All right, let's move on to the next article from Electric. Tesla now has 40,000 superchargers around the world, making it the largest global DC fast charging network. The supercharger network has been a critical part of Tesla's success, and I dare say that is the reason why I would say myself and maybe even you, Riz, and many of our viewers who own Teslas have bought a Tesla in the last few years because solely because of this supercharger network that we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, the rate of expansion now is significant even in Australia, right? We had 20 odd sites, new sites that are supposed to be opened by some as early as Q1 2023, trying to keep up with the I guess the uptake of Teslas in Australia, and it is one of the key strengths that they have. Like at least you can travel in most parts of the country using just the Tesla supercharger network, and that it's reliable, number of stalls, and it's generally well maintained. That's the key advantage of it, and you can see the status of the chargers from your car as you're heading that way. So it reduces charger anxiety, range anxiety, and yeah, it's a big feat. 40,000 superchargers around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations to Tesla. And it's no small thing to say that they're convenient. They really are. It literally is just plug and play. No other DC charger network that I know in Australia comes close to the ease of use. And look, what we know in New South Wales and even possibly around Australia, this might be changing very soon. The guys we had from New South Wales government on our live stream recently said that Tesla has to open up the new chargers at least because they've received partial government funding from the New South Wales government, which requires all EVs to be able to use their network. So, yeah, it'll be very interesting, Riz, to see whether once Tesla opens up in Australia, whether they lose some of that market share, knowing that, or vehicles anyway, knowing that other vehicles can charge at Tesla superchargers.
Yeah, I'm so far from, I guess, early reports out of Europe, which Europe they're steaming ahead with opening quite a few sites to non-Tesla owners. The reports that I'm sort of seeing so far, it seems that people are not, Tesla owners are just happy to have access to that charging network, and they don't mind seeing non-Teslas charging there as such. I mean, non-Teslas would only really be charging there if they really needed to because of the markup that they have to pay versus Tesla owners. So it's quite interesting to see. I think those that have placed an order and the backlog of Teslas in Australia already shows that I guess it's not high on the agenda for new and existing owners of worries around Tesla ownership. But I guess once we do start to hit some big numbers next year, we'll see if the supercharger network and the number of stalls can keep up with the demand and Tesla owner expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. And Riz, I'm looking forward to seeing your data when this does happen. Comparing whether Tesla's market share does change at all when the supercharger network opens to non-Tesla vehicles in Australia.
Yeah, we'll
From
definitely be monitoring that and bring it right here on Ludicrous feed.
Thank you, Riz from Carloop. All right, let's move on to the next article. Also from Electrek, Tesla Cybertruck reaches 1.5 million pre-orders. Can it live up to the hype? Tesla Cybertruck is getting close to production. As the automaker's first new model in 3 years, the company badly needs to gain its momentum back, but can it live up to the hype? Riz, have you got a pre-order?
No, I actually don't. I, I think I missed the boat on that one back in the day, but it'd be interesting to see. How about yourself, Tom?
No, I must admit I don't have a pre-order either. I Yeah, I was still very skeptical at the time, but I'm happy to say that I may be visiting, yeah, possibly next month in the holiday, the Peterson Museum in LA, so I can have a look at it up close. It might be sold when I see it.
Yeah, that's very exciting to be able to see such a vehicle in person. Sure, we look forward to your take on it if you get a chance to see it, and I'm sure um, a few of our viewers and audience would have an order on one, probably in the same bucket as a Roadster for some people. But I think the Cybertruck will become a reality next year, given the roles that are being advertised by Tesla and the shipment of the big um, gigapress machine to Texas, where this Cybertruck would be built. One thing worth noting: 1st of December, everyone should pencil that in. That's the Tesla
Mm,
semi delivery event, and I have a feeling we may get some more details on either the Cybertruck, more likely Cybertruck than the Roadster, but potentially something to do with the Roadster as well.
yeah, yeah, that'd be a good one actually. Yeah, the semi or truck will be game changing for some industries looking to go electric for their renewable credentials for sure. Um, yeah, I mean, there's been no further word on whether Cybertrucks will come to Australia. Like Tesla have not confirmed nor denied that, but certainly those order holders remain hopeful. I'm sure in Australia.
Hmm.
Fingers crossed. All right, let's have a look at the next one. Electric also says Tesla Megapack project becomes Europe's biggest battery. Look at that. Capable of backing up power to up to 300,000 UK homes for 2 hours. 42 megapacks per week. They're going to be delivering or producing at Gigafactory Nevada, and they're trying to ramp up to
Hmm.
40 gigawatt hours per
It's
packs per year. Wow. Yeah,
Well,
so
that's
this one in
huge.
the UK is 196 megawatt hour battery, the Pillswood project. I'm not sure how big the battery in South Australia is, but this looks like a pretty big
I,
number.
I believe it was 100 in South Australia. The first sort of project that was done, I think it was famously like, I think it was to be delivered in under 100 days,
That's right.
or it was
Yes.
going to be free. So, typical um, Elon Musk marketing, um, as well as I guess delivering on his word on
Mm.
what was supposed to happen there. So it got South Australia out of a pickle, and I'm sure this mega pack project will do the same for Europe as well.
Yeah, we know the UK, they do rely a lot on wind power as well, so they can certainly store a lot of that in the batteries for their use when the wind doesn't blow, I guess, when people say that.
Hmm.
Yeah, so we'll watch this space. All right, and final article for today is from carnewschina.com. NIO released prices for its European lineup. ET5 starts at 49,900 euro. The ET7 is the one in red. ET5 is the one in yellow. They kind of look like sort of luxury sedans. Would you say?
Yeah, yeah. So I think ET5 would be closer to the Model 3 sort of size. And yeah, it looks pretty cool at 49,000 euros. I think that would be around, give or take, maybe around 78,000 Australian dollars. Um, so yeah, cool to see, Neo sort of launching into the European market. And I believe the founder recently also said that there's 5 new models being developed to be launched in the first half of next year. So this is a good sort of platform to get started on in Europe, and maybe we'll see them in Australia too in the next 12 months.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure Neo and other Chinese brands like Xpeng are watching how the BYD Ute 3 is going here. I'm sure they're getting free market research from the first sort of Chinese ground up EV here in Australia. So yeah, we welcome Neo and other brands. I think that's good to see more EVs in Australia. It's only good for our market, I think.
Yeah, I think that's and they look cool. They look,
Mm,
both Xpeng and Neo look yeah, quite futuristic, quite cool, and yeah, I mean very sort of sleek Porsche-like designs.
mm, yeah,
Um, So yeah, exciting to see new models.
Yeah, 100%. Alrighty, well, that's it from Riz and myself. Thanks for watching so far into the show. We'll try and bring these updates fairly regularly to you, just to give you guys sort of an idea of where we're at with the EV space in Australia and around the world, I guess. Thank you very much, Riz from Carloop.
Thanks for having me, Tom. Thanks for making it this far, everyone. It'd be great to get your feedback on what you think of the format, anything else that you'd like to see, as this is our first one, but we'd like to do them more regularly. So, yeah, thanks for making it this far, everyone.
Yeah, no, thank you, Riz, and thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you leave a comment below as well. Give us some feedback, and we'll see you at the next EV update. Otherwise, take care, and as always, happy charging.